morning. Thank you all for joining me here today, us here today. I'm joined by my interpreter, our friend Magda. Magda is here to help our Spanish-speaking providers. We're going to talk in just a moment about how the translation channels work. We're going to let a couple more folks in, and then we will get started with the presentation. And Magda will let everybody know in Spanish how we're going to get started.
Hola, buenas tardes a todos. Esperando que se encuentren muy bien. Como decía Jen, vamos a partir en unos minutos. Vamos a tener interpretación en español para quienes quieran conectarse al canal. Vamos a dar las instrucciones sobre cómo unirse a ese canal una vez que demos por comenzada la reunión en unos minutos. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Magda. So I just want to remind everybody, quick reminder, please put your name and your PDS number in the chat. That way we can make sure that you get credit for attending today. So thank you. Thanks so much. We're going to get started and we're going to talk about retirement today. So my name is Jen Vale, and again, we're here with Magda. I am with Civitas Strategies. I am the Director of Professional Learning and Standards at Civitas. I get to join you folks for webinars from time to time, as well as the small study groups and the one-on-one coaching. If you are not familiar with small study groups or one-on-one coaching, towards the end of the presentation, I'm going to put a bunch of links in the chat, and one of them is a fantastic guide that will walk you through all of the different training opportunities that DECAL offers. Really easy to sign up for these small study groups. They're very intense sessions, 1-hour sessions. There's 4 of them. We're going to look at the topics at the end of the presentation. Absolutely amazing free training offered to you through and by DECAL, so it's wonderful. I'll share that link with you there. If you have been taking any of the small study groups, I'd just like to let you know 2 new topics. One is stacking revenue, which is fantastic in that it helps you understand how you can combine different types of revenue to grow your business, to have a better, healthier bottom line. And the other is going to be on tax credits, which are also very, very important to business owners. So I'll give Magdalena a chance to translate that, and then I'm going to show everybody how translation works.
Bueno, como decía Jennifer, tenemos una cantidad ilimitada de beneficios y de recursos para ustedes. Vamos a estar poniendo en el chat todos estos recursos que son gratuitos y que están a la orden de ustedes. Vamos a ir poniéndolos en el chat a lo largo que vayamos desarrollando la reunión. Eso en resumen. That was a very short summary.
I apologize, Magda. I just went on and on and on. I'm going to remind everybody once we get into the interpretation channel. So sorry,
Yes.
guys, I'm a little rusty here. So let's just take a look at how the interpretation channels will work. So just so everyone knows, the interpretation isn't turned on until I let you folks know that we have started. So right now you don't see this little globe on your screen, but once I've turned interpretation on, you're going to see this little globe pop up. If you are on a desktop computer, you're going to see the globe in the bottom bar. Please click on that and choose the language that you would like to hear the presentation in. Even if you can hear me speaking in English already, please choose the language just so that the interpretation rooms work well. This is what it looks like if you're on a desktop computer. And if you're on your mobile devices, you're going to click on more. There's a drop down. You'll see the line for language interpretation. Again, please click on that and choose the language that you would like to hear the presentation in.
Ok, entonces, todavía los canales no están activados, pero una vez que Jen dé la señal de que están encendidos los canales, va a aparecer un menú como el que aparece ahí en la imagen. Si es que usted está desde una computadora, tiene que ir al menú abajo, va a aparecer la opción interpretación con ese icono de un globo y le van a aparecer las opciones de lenguajes que tendremos disponibles, que por hoy van a ser solamente inglés y español, y eh, tiene que apretar el botón de español. Y luego, si es que usted está desde un teléfono celular, next slide,
One moment, so sorry.
Sure.
I went ahead and I maximized everything. There we go.
Ahí sí. Entonces, si es que usted está desde un teléfono celular, tiene que ir al menú de abajo a la derecha donde aparecen los tres puntitos donde dice más o more y escoger la opción de interpretación de idiomas o language interpretation, como dice la imagen ahí. Pero eso es una vez que los canales sean activados, que es lo que Jen va a hacer una vez que yo termine de dar las instrucciones. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Magda. All right, let us turn on interpretation and then please choose the language of your choice. So hang on 1 second. Okay, everyone should be able to see the globe. Please choose the language that you would like to hear the presentation in, and we are going to get started. So even if you can hear me in English, please go ahead and choose a language that you would like to hear the presentation in. And we're going to get started here. I'm just still watching because we have folks that are joining us, continue to join us. So just going to repeat something that I said before we turned interpretation on. Welcome. I'm Jen Vale. I am the Director of Professional Learning and Standards at Civitas Strategies, and we are joined by Magda, our interpreter. She's fantastic. We work together all of the time. I'm just letting everybody know that we're going to hold the questions till the end of the presentation. We certainly will have time for questions. I'm also at the end of the presentation going to have a slide about small study groups and one-on-one coaching that are offered free of charge through DECAL. If you have taken small study groups before, you know how essential and important they can be. And I just want to let everybody know that there are two new topics. One is called stacking revenue. The other is called tax credits for small businesses. Both of them are fantastic. If you've taken all the other small study groups, please consider registering for those. So we'd love to see you there. I'll give that quick synopsis at the end so you guys can see all of the topics. So hey, retirement, thank you so much for joining me here today. By coming today and spending this time, you've taken a really important step towards what honestly is a brighter tomorrow. So retirement planning is something that has long been ignored for small business owners across the United States, but childcare in particular, because childcare business owners are so familiar with putting themselves last and taking care of everybody first. And the years go by, and then the next thing you know, you're coming up on retirement and you haven't had the opportunity to learn about how to plan for retirement. It really is very, very unfortunate that in the United States, there's not a heck of a lot of education on retirement planning. And we just find throughout childcare across the country, not just Georgia, this is a topic that really, really is essential for providers to learn about for business owners. So today we want to help you make a positive impact on your future on there. And I will say, I'll just throw in there, what you learned today, please share it with individuals, either in your businesses or people in your personal life, because everybody should know about retirement planning. So there'll be some things here that you could share with others there. So of course, I'd like to thank DECAL for having us here. We've worked with DECAL now for over the last few years to really make sure that childcare providers in Georgia have the services and the training that they need. So we always are so grateful to DECAL for having us and offering these opportunities there. So what we will do next is just a quick disclaimer. If you guys have been with me before, you're used to this. So the information contained here has been prepared by Civitas Strategies and is not intended to constitute legal, tax, or financial advice. The Civitas Strategies team has used reasonable efforts in collecting, preparing, and providing this information, but does not guarantee its accuracy, completeness, adequacy, or currency. The publication and distribution of this information are not intended to create, and receipt does not constitute an attorney-client or any other advisory relationship. Reproduction of this information and the recording of this content, including the use of AI, are expressly prohibited, and only non-commercial uses of this work are permitted. All right. So what are we going to talk about when it comes to retirement? Well, retirement obviously is important for you. It's important for your family, anyone that you care for, anyone who will be joining you in the future. Retirement is very important. It's important for your business. It's important for your employees, right? The first thing we like to do is talk about your personal retirement needs, right? You have to put yourself first. So we're going to talk about that. Then we'll talk about in terms of how having retirement plans through the business can help your employees, and then also how it helps your business, because there are some real advantages to having a retirement plan if you're a business owner for your business. We will talk about how you can increase your savings. We'll basically walk you through all of the essential elements of retirement planning. So it really, taking this action now is really one of the most important things you can do for your future, because retirement, how you plan for it, how you save for it, it will impact your life in every way into the future, right? So all of the decisions that you make as you're choosing to either cut back or stop working will be determined by your retirement savings, what you have there. You deserve security. You've worked very, very hard. And retirement should be a time, right, that you can live that retirement dream and do whatever it is that you would like. It's different for everybody. Everybody has a different picture of what retirement should be. But the one thing that is the same for all of us, basically, is we're going to need savings, right? We're going to need savings to achieve what our dream retirement is, what we are hoping to have in the future there. So as I mentioned, when it comes to your business, there are some tax advantages to opening a retirement plan through your business. There are advantages for your employees. It's really a great resource if you are if you have employees. It's a great way to retain employees. If you're hiring, it's a great a great recruitment tool. So retention and recruitment. Employees look for businesses that offer retirement planning. So as you can see here, big impact for yourself, big impact for your business, big impact for your employees. So, all right. And as I mentioned, as childcare business owners and childcare business employees, you have put everyone else first. The children, their families, your team, your families. Planning for retirement isn't selfish, right? It's how you care for yourself in the future, as well as anybody that you need to take care of. So let's take a little look real quick at why it is worth prioritizing, even with everything that's going on. So it has to be a priority. Retirement has to be a priority. We can start today. It's a Friday. What can we do this weekend? We could do a little bit of looking into retirement, right? The reality is that retirement planning falls entirely on each individual. We're possibly going to receive Social Security in the future. It depends on what your Social Security contributions have been. But you're going to see later, Social Security payments can supplement retirement savings, but unfortunately, they may not cover all of the expenses that you can expect to have in retirement. So the decision to plan for retirement is yours. It's all of our responsibility. And it's a decision you want to make really, take really seriously. And we'll talk about how you can make it happen. I do like to put out there that if you haven't saved for retirement already, don't worry. We're going to talk about that. The time to start is now. So the sooner you start to do this, the more you can take advantage of time, because one of the best ways to grow retirement savings is over time. Time is your friend. However, if you haven't started, now's the time, right? We could start to do that. So, all right. Now, why would we want to think about it? Why is it so urgent, right? Why do we need to think about it? Well, people are living longer than they ever have before, thank goodness, due to better health care, higher living standards. People are going to need more income because there are going to be far more years, hopefully, right? Let's all knock on wood, far more years of retirement than previous generations. So when we look at our chosen retirement age, there's a lot of time a lot of time left for you to live your life. However, we need savings to do that, right? Because we need either for that dream or to maintain your lifestyle there. As we all know now, especially inflation, right? The cost of living goes up over time due to inflation. And a retirement plan really can ensure that your savings and your investments, that all of that maintain their purchasing power as they grow. We can help offset inflation. So basically, our costs are going to be more going into the future. So the reality of the financial state of the world, that's what that's like there. And also keep in mind that we'll have inflation, but also we're going to live for a long time. We're going to be healthy, but healthcare costs do tend to increase as people age. So a good retirement plan thinks of all of these different factors because we want to make sure that we have what we need. And that's because everybody has in mind, right, a certain standard of living. We want everyone to be able to maintain the standard of living that you have now once you stop working. So we're going to look at what is suggested in terms of savings there, but we want everybody to have that comfort level where they're independent, where you can do the things that you want to do. And retirement planning helps us do that, right? Because we can't be can't necessarily be basically putting anything on our family. We can't rely on our family. Government plans may not be enough. So these are all great decisions to make this the time that you're all great reasons to make this the time that you're going to start to plan for retirement on there. Now, let's talk about how much you're going to need, right? Because that's kind of a number that floats out there. And what is it? What is the recommended amount? Um, Everybody's is going to be a little different, but what you want to do is think about it does take a great deal of savings. And what financial experts are estimating is that most individuals will need up to 80% of their pre-retirement income to maintain their standard of living once they stop working. So 80% of what you have now, you are going to have every single year after you stop working. You can combine Social Security into that 80%, but that's a big number, right? If we think about, okay, what we've got now, and I'm going to be including some links at the end of the presentation so that you can register with Social Security and take a look at what your current your current estimate is for your Social Security benefits, and you can plan from there. But in order to maintain our lifestyle, it is expected and estimated that we'll need 80% of what we're making now. So if you're making $35,000 today, you'll need to have $28,000 a year every year from the point you retire on. So, a lot of people think that Social Security is going to take care of all of that, but on average, and this is just an average, but on average, the Social Security benefit is actually on average for the United States a little over $14,000 a year. So if we were making 35,000, we need to have at least 80% of that every year after we retire. And on average, Social Security is a little over $14,000 a year. Oh boy, there's a big gap, right? There's a big gap that we need to fill in order to live comfortably. So we're going to look next at what's called compound interest, and I'm going to put a link to a compound interest calculator in the chat a little later. Compound interest is all about how your money grows over time. Because what did I say in the beginning? Not to discourage anybody who hasn't started already, but time is our friend when it comes to retirement. And I'm going to show you an example. Compound interest calculators are fun to play around with. The link I'm going to put in the chat is it's a government site They do not capture any of your personal information. You can play around with it as much as you want. You can share it with everybody. But what's nice is it lets you put in perhaps starting amounts that you have in savings and how much you can contribute a month and how many years until you retire. And it gives you estimates, and you can play around with all of that. You could change the amount of years until you retire. You could change your monthly contribution. It gives you a wonderful picture. So there'll be a link in the chat for compound interest calculator by the end of this presentation there. So compound interest, let's take a look at this example. All right. So with compound interest, money grows over time. That's basically how it works there. Compound interest means that we have money, it's invested. We earn interest on that money. The amount that we have invested plus that interest gets invested again, plus any contributions, and it grows and grows and grows. So it's basically interest upon interest upon interest, right? It just continues to grow. And what you see here, this is an example of a compound interest calculator, a little different than what you're going to see if you end up using the link that I'll share with you, but basically the same thing applies, right? So if we said that your investments are going to have about a 6.5% interest rate, and that was the average back in the like 2021 or so. Right now, the interest rates are a little higher, but this example shows us a 6.5% interest rate. And if the first year we decided, hey, let's save $600 first year, great. That $600 we make $18.20 in interest. Everybody says, oh, what big deal is that? Well, the next year then we have $618.20, our original savings plus our interest plus everything that we're going to be saving again. So another $600. All right, end of that year plus interest, $1,277.81. So if that continued over 30 years, contributing $600 a year, you'll have saved $18,000 in savings. However, your interest that you will compound it, interest upon interest upon interest, year after year, would be $37,000 in interest, $37,308. So we contributed $18,000, and over 30 years, that got us to $55,308.90. That's a small number that we're starting with, right? $600 a year. Think about what it could be if you could increase that contribution. If you have more than 30 years, fantastic. Time is our friend. If we have less than that time, we just have to start saving more. But interest compounds upon interest, and it takes an investment that you make and it grows exponentially because of that. So it really is fun. Please play around with the compound interest calculator when I share that link with you there. So as we mentioned, so financial planners are saying to us, hey, you have to provide for at least 80% of your income after you stop working. And really, we do know that you're going to have Social Security. We do know sometimes it's a lower cost lifestyle, maybe an empty nester, maybe the kids have flown the nest, or you no longer have a mortgage. And that's why they don't say 100%, because it is estimated that you will have some reduction in expenses as well as Social Security. So that's why we're saying you don't have to necessarily replace dollar for dollar. Fantastic if you can. We want to think about starting as early as possible. The ideal age is around 25. But if you're older, you can still save, still can, just means that you're going to put aside more of your current income each year. If you're over 25, do not despair. It is not uncommon for people to start saving for retirement later in life. You can still work towards establishing that savings. You do take care of everybody other than yourselves. I know you put everybody else first, and I'm going to say something that goes right back to that. If you happen to have any young people in your lives, let's say they've got a job between 18 and 35, please encourage them to start a retirement plan. We can change the future of the people in our lives, the people that we love, by sharing our knowledge on retirement plans. Give them the compound interest calculator link. Let them play around and see if they start now what their retirement savings could be on there. Now, we've mentioned that Social Security may not be enough, right, to get us to that 80% there. And across the United States, very, very common, Social Security has been the backbone of retirement planning. It's an important part. It's by no means do we want to discount Social Security, but let's take a look at the impact that Social Security can have. Okay, what factors are involved when we think about Social Security? So Social Security is actually based, the amount that you're going to receive, your benefit, is based on credits. Now, in order to earn any Social Security benefit, you have to have at least 10 years of work where you've been paying into Social Security. So if someone got to the age of retirement, but they had only had paid into Social Security and only showed 5 years of earnings, unfortunately, they would not be able to qualify, even if they had been paying into Social Security for those 5 years. So basically, the number of credits is how the benefit is determined. What they do in terms of the earning income, right? They take the 35 highest earning years across your lifetime of wages. So across either your W-2 wages or what you've reported on your Schedule C, if you are a sole proprietor, they look for the highest 35 years, and that's what they base the highest earnings over the cross over 35 years or within 35 years there. And that is how they determine how many credits you are going to receive, and it helps to calculate what your Social Security benefit would be. I'm going to put in the chat the link to the Social Security website, because you set up an account there and you can see how much you've already paid into Social Security, what it's estimated your benefit would be. Fantastic resource. Make sure that you have that. The next slide will also have a QR code that shows that there. So if you don't have 35 years of employment, they basically put zeros in for the years that you don't. So if you have 25 years of employment, okay, those are your 25 highest earning years, right? We only had 25, but there also will then be some zeros calculated in there. The average, because they take the average of 35, that would be 10, we basically would have 10 years that we weren't accumulating credits for Social Security. So something that a lot of people don't realize the impact is the age in which you choose to start receiving your Social Security benefit. It makes a huge, huge difference. So if you see here, if you were to basically start to claim your Social Security benefit, monthly benefit, anywhere from age 62 to 66. Now, that year, that retirement age keeps going up, right? It used to be 64 and 65. Between the ages of 62 and 66, the benefit that you see available in your account for Social Security, the estimated benefit, you will only receive between 70 to 75% of that benefit. So if we retire early, before the age of 67, we're not going to get 100% of our Social Security benefit, and that is for the rest of time. It doesn't change. So that means that if we decide we're going to start getting benefits between 62 and 66, we're only going to get between 70 and 75% of that benefit over the course of our lifetime. If you wait until ages 67 through 69, it's 100% of the benefit. You basically are not leaving any money on the table whatsoever, 100% of the benefit going forward. If you delay your retirement, if you delay receiving your Social Security benefit from age 70 on up, you basically then get more than 100% of your benefits, anywhere from 124% to 132%. So if we think about, I was talking about how time is your friend when it comes to retirement. Well, putting off receiving benefits, Social Security benefits, is also your friend. So money grows over time, and we want to receive the maximum amount of benefit that we possibly can from Social Security. So just keep that in mind. A lot of folks are like, hey, by the time I'm 63, 64, 65, I'm going to have it. That's it, Jen, I'm out. Just keep in mind that over the rest of your life that you're receiving Social Security benefits, it's only going to be between 70 and 75%. Hang in there to 67 so that you can at least receive the 100%. And if you can go for quite a while without receiving the Social Security benefit, 70 or over. Whoops, we have somebody. Sorry, I'm just letting someone in. All right. So, excuse me. Okay, so what are the next steps, right? So if you've paid into Social Security, if you have over 10 years of employment so that you can earn 10 credits there, you have to open up the account in order to see what it is that you are estimated to be eligible for. Of course, that changes over, we're looking at the average of 35 years, but it's fantastic. This is the QR code for the site. I'll put the link in the chat at the end. Please go to the Social Security site and open an account. That way you can continually check on it. You can view where your Social Security savings are going to be. You'll be able to look at where you are with your retirement planning, thinking about putting those two together. How close are you to that 80%, right? So knowledge is key. Understanding and being able to plan for what we're going to need. If we looked at Social Security and said, that's a little less than what I thought, better up those retirement savings, right? Or perhaps we have fantastic retirement savings. We look at Social Security, and we can feel comforted that, all right, we're on the right path. So please, by all means, it is very important to view what your Social Security benefits are going to be. So, well, what do we do? Now we know time's our friend. We know we have to have at least 80% of our pre-retirement earnings on an annual basis, year after year. What are those next steps, right? What do we do? Well, what's really recommended is at the minimum that you set aside and contribute between 10 to 15% of your annual salary. So basically, if you are working for a business and they have a retirement plan and they are contributing a match, they're contributing something, you can include that contribution in that 10 to 15% if you'd like, or you can just consider it to be a bonus there. But the company matches are fantastic. But if you're a sole proprietor, if you basically it's you, we're going to talk about how you set up a retirement plan through the business, get some business advantages, and be putting money towards your retirement. Keeping in mind, wow, 10 to 15% is a great amount. If we're behind on retirement savings, we really should be looking for more. The other thing that we want everybody to think about is small increases over time don't hurt so much. So maybe you set a goal for yourself that every year you're going to increase that contribution. You start, let's say, at 12%. Come the new year, I'm going to start to contribute 13%, and just keep doing that. Just keep contributing up until the max for the retirement plan that you have enrolled in. Just continue to do that. If you happen to get any extra, perhaps you have a big tax return, or there are other things that you have that unexpected money. A great example is if you paid off your car. So been making that car payment, boy, $400 a month forever, it felt like. But now I've got $400. Well, rather than put it into my overall budget, since I lived without that $400, I'm going to put it towards my retirement. So think about little areas that you might be able over the course of time to contribute. There. Automatic deposits. Anybody who pays their bills with automatic withdrawal knows how fantastic that is, and the fact that you aren't going to have to keep that front of mind. Same thing with automatic deposits. Making sure that a deposit can just go in immediately from your pay, if possible, is a fantastic way to continue to save, right? So basically, if we put in automation and we take out things that we have to do on a repetitive basis, we're more likely to be able to save. If you are a sole proprietorship, if you're going to be using a company like Fidelity or Vanguard, we'll talk about that. They can set up automatic withdrawals. boop, they can just every month take out of your checking account, put it into your retirement plan. So you don't have to be a W-2 employee and have money with held back and put into your retirement account automatically. You also, as a sole proprietor, can do the same thing. So having that amount deposited seamlessly on a regular schedule, huge deal. Basically, what we also want to kind of talk about are the fact that if you do go up 1 to 2%, and have, actually, I started talking about this a little earlier, but gradual increases, but also the idea of extra money. If we have a rate increase in our tuition, what if we took that rate increase and we put it towards our retirement, right? What if we have something like an inheritance? We put it towards our retirement. So gradual increases plus money that we didn't expect with these automatic deposits, great combination there. And then keep in mind, if you're 50 years old or 50 years old or older, retirement plans have what are called catch-up contributions. So we're going to take a look, and I'll show you there are maximums to which you can contribute a year to retirement plans. However, if you are 50 or over, you actually get the opportunity to contribute more. So there's a higher limit, and that lets you catch up, right? Being able to put that much more in a retirement plan versus someone who's under the age of 50 will help you catch up, right? Will help us get more of a contribution in there, hit the max, keep growing our money over time. So it's fantastic. Right now there actually are a couple of ways that from 60 to 63, I'll look at that number in a minute, you actually can put in even more, even higher contribution, catch-up contribution there. So just keeping that in mind. All right. Now, pre-tax and post-tax. Depending on your age, it can be more beneficial to start saving for retirement one way versus the other. So younger business owners, younger employees, younger people in their 20s and their 30s, what's called a post-tax retirement plan would probably be the most attractive right now. So what is post-tax? Well, it's money that you have already paid taxes on that you are putting into a retirement account. So we like that because that money is going to compound, but you've already paid taxes on it. So you're not paying taxes on that compound portion. It's good for folks. They should still have other retirement plans, but starting, for instance, like with a Roth IRA that is post-tax. Already paid taxes on that money. Now I'm going to invest it to my retirement. Grows with interest without having to pay taxes when we withdraw. Pre-tax money is what helps us basically lower our tax liability throughout our employment, because that money comes out before we're taxed. That's what most 401k plans, SEP IRAs, everything that you'll learn about there. So folks that are past the age of, let's say, 35, 40, Roth IRAs are just fine, but you'll most likely get the biggest bang for your buck in these pre-tax contributions. So basically, it lowers our taxes because we're not taxed on the income that we've put into our retirement plan. But it's the opposite of a post-tax situation when that money grows over time, but we pay taxes on it when we take our distribution. So we are paying taxes on it, but it's very nice if we're a little older to be able to reduce our tax liability at that particular time. You also have higher contribution limits that you can hit in the pre-tax retirement plans versus a Roth IRA. And if we are older, we're going to want to hopefully be putting more and more money towards our retirement. If we have if we basically have the advantage of time, we can have some retirement vehicles that have much lower contribution maximums. So you want to think about combining the two is the best scenario, right? So if we can, let's mix the two up. All right. So pre-tax, also called tax deferred, if you've ever heard tax deferred, could be a SEP IRA. A SEP IRA is a self-employment retirement fund. We're going to talk about how those work, or a 401k. get your contributions out before you're taxed, fantastic. You pay taxes when you withdraw the money, but we've got that. We've got pre-tax. Then a post-tax, like an IRA, considered to be what's called the tax exempt, will grow over time. And if we think about it, then we won't be paying our taxes on that money that compounded there. So you definitely want to think about how a mix could help you. Wouldn't it be great if in retirement we pull some funds that we're not taxed on because it's post-tax, we already paid taxes on it, and we pull some money that we're going to pay the taxes at that time? What a great combination. All right, so mixing the two is ideal. We just, always a good idea if you can have your eggs in many baskets, right? If we can do that there. So one of the things that you want to think about when it comes to retirement is Warren Buffett, right? Multi-millionaire, billionaire, right? One of the most successful investors in the United States says, if investing is entertaining, if you're having fun, you're probably not making any money. Good investing is boring, meaning that you're making, with guidance, if you're not aware of how to do it yourself, with the guidance of a professional, you're making good, steady retirement investments, retirement options, not riding the waves and having the highs and the lows that, extreme. Really investing in what are called index or retirement date funds basically are the way to have a very steady savings towards retirement. So just keeping that in mind. Index funds are usually a blend of stocks and bonds that match what's going on in the market. And that's always a good thing because it's keeping up with the trends and what is current there. And when you have these types of funds, you don't have to change things as the market changes. The organization that holds the fund, they make the changes, they make the adjustments for you, right? So those are professionals. And you also have what are called retirement date funds. And those financial managers, what they do is they look at your targeted retirement date and they determine what types of investments they should be making for you to reach your retirement goal. So if you have a shorter period of time till retirement, your professionals are probably going to be investing your money less aggressively, a little more conservatively, so that because we don't have as much time to ride the waves, right? Market changes. They invest conservatively. If you're much younger, your investment professionals will most likely put you in things with a little higher risk, because you do have the benefit of time if the market goes up and down. And then as you get closer to retirement age, these professionals basically adjust the funds, I should say the mutual or exchange traded funds. They adjust that to be more conservative. So that's what really professionals help us do, is determine, make sure that we're not going to do things that are extremely risky based on the age of our retirement. So like Warren Buffett said, not meant to be exciting, right? Meant to be boring, meant to be boring there. Now, when it comes to the treatment for taxes, do keep in mind that if you have the situations with these pre-tax plans, you are lowering your taxable income that year. So if you've ever had, if you already have a 401k, if you look at the amount that you would have been taxed on your pay if you didn't have that 401 contribution versus what you're taxed because you had the 401k contribution, it's a big difference. All right, so definitely, without a doubt, a very big difference that way. So it can help you if you would like to lower your current tax liability there. So keeping that in mind. We want to stress with people, hey, if you can, don't touch the money. Unfortunately, there are plans, hardship plans, there are loans that can be taken, but every time you do something like that, you are reducing the opportunity for your money to compound. If we lower that amount, even if we're on a repayment plan, because loans, if you take a loan from your retirement, you repay yourself, but you didn't have the ability to have that higher number that that basically compounds over time. We've denied ourselves that. Also keep in mind that there are additional taxes and penalties that are paid if you withdraw before the age of 59 and a half. So at 59, over 59 and a half, you can access your retirement funds for the most part without paying penalty. So if you needed to, you could do it at that time. But if you're withdrawing before then, with many plans, it can be pretty substantial. All right, so just, basically you could end up really losing a lot of the hard-earned money that you've invested and have grown. So if you can avoid pulling that money out, by all means, please do. But there are basically hardship allowances. Sometimes it's for medical expenses, perhaps if they're over 10% of your adjusted gross income, and depending on your age, you can withdraw money without penalty. You can do that. If you have medical insurance while you're unemployed, some plans let you pull money out without penalty to pay for that if you have to pay insurance while you're not working there. If you're disabled, yes, some of them have allowabilities to withdraw for college and educational tuition, some of them for first-time home buyers. So there are sometimes exceptions, but if we're taking money out, it's not compounding, right? We're basically denying ourselves the value of time if we end up doing that. So, right, just looking at my time. Okay, so how can a retirement plan help your business? So, what everybody needs to know, the exciting thing is that when you have a retirement plan that's opened through the business, the contributions that the business makes, basically I'll jump to the next one there. The contributions that the business makes are an allowable business expense. So they lower your tax liability. So if I am a sole proprietor and my business opens a retirement account for me, everything that goes into my retirement plan is also a tax deduction. If you are a center owner, if you own an LLC that's electing to file as an S corporation, and you're not a sole proprietor or single member LLC, and you open a retirement plan for you and your employees, everything the business puts in there is tax deductible for the business. Plus, you're contributing to your own retirement. It's a win-win. Absolutely fantastic situation. All right. So just keeping in mind that the fact that those are deductible expenses really helps lower the tax liability for the business while putting money towards your future. So that's really excited there. As we talked about with tax favored, right? There are tax benefits in terms of that pre-tax money, but we're also going to look at some tax credits that are available there. So, just keeping in mind, if we're doing pre-tax, money is growing over the years. We'll pay taxes at the end, but it's compounding. We didn't have to pay taxes on the front, and we paid less taxes overall every year because we made those contributions. So, in terms of tax credits, there are tax credits for businesses and there are tax credits for individuals. So there's what's called the Savers Credit. That is a credit for adults who are over the age of 18, who are not dependents or students, right? So nobody's claiming them on the taxes. They can get a tax credit of up to $1,000. So there are things and there are limits, but there are contributions that tax credits that you can use to get back money from the contributions that you've made to lower your taxes, right? Well, maybe we have a higher tax return and we put that into our retirement plan. It never ends on there. So we do have that for individuals. If you are a business owner, there's what's called the Retirement Plan Startup Cost Tax Credit. The links for these are going to be in the chat. And basically what that is if you have W-2 employees and you set up a retirement plan through the business, you can receive tax credits towards your administrative fees. You can receive them for if you're doing automatic with contributions, if the money's coming out directly to the employees, there's a higher tax credit. So there's a lot of things that will help you on not other than just making the retirement contribution. And I want to look at two different examples. All right. So Basically, you based, I think this is even higher now. This may be a little bit of a lower number, but employees, when employees, people looking for work are asked about the importance of a retirement plan in their decision to which company to work with. Retirement plans are something that play into it. And we see a large amount of employees who are existing employees who say that they will stay with employers who have retirement plans. That is important to them. So retirement plans really, they do help you keep employees, attract new employees, and for you to have a retirement plan through the business, prepare for your future. So win-win, right? And having these retirement plans through the business. And everyone thinks as business owners that, wow, yeah, I'm getting a deduction, but there's still a lot of expense to be had. If we look at this particular situation, sole proprietor, all right, she made $38,000 over the course of a year, and she put $2,000 into what's called a simple retirement account. We'll look at what one of those is in just a little bit there. So that $2,000, right? Well, first, it lowers her taxes, and she's doing this through the business. Lowered her self-employment tax, fantastic. Lowered her income tax, right? Because those are pre-tax contributions on there. She gets the savers credit for individuals there. And basically what happened is she put $2,000 into her retirement account. And at the end of the day, through the business, at the end of the day, it actually ended up costing $454. All right. Tax credits, reduction in self-employment tax, reduction in income tax. If we looked at the final number, wow, $2,000 actually really only cost $454. So good deal there. For someone who has employees in this particular situation, it's a business that, let's say she has 15 employees, right? Basically, she decides that she's going to contribute 5% of the salary of each employee, $1,560 per employee. Again, these are all made up numbers, right? Over the course of the year, she's contributed $23,400 to her employees' retirement on there. So what it turns out is, that cost her about 25, what do we say, 2550. Okay, so that's costing there because that's the contributions, administrative costs, everything in total. $25,950 is what is still paid out, but not what she ends up through savings. So she gets, because of the tax credits, she gets her administrative costs back. Her employees can get, she can get up to $1,000 with another tax credit for contributions per her employees, up to $15,000, so $1,000 per employee there. So total tax credits, $17,550. She gets the deduction for those administrative costs. Everything comes up. Her benefit ended up costing her on paper, $25,950. But after all of those credits, after everything is taken into account, the business only spent $2,691. And if she is one of those 15 employees paying herself via W-2 wages, right, she's getting the personal advantage. All that advantage for the business. Turns out it's not too much of an actual cost for the business. And all of these contributions, helping herself, retaining employees, helping her hire. All right. So just keeping that in mind, very, very important there. We're asked all the time, how much should a business contribute? On average, 4.3% is usually is the average of what businesses will contribute of their employee's salary for the employee's retirement. All right. All sorts of things to take into consideration. Is that competitive with other businesses in your area? Just kind of taking into account, you'll want to do a little bit of research if you are trying to determine how much of an annual salary, what percentage you should be contributing for your employees. Also keep in mind, you don't have to contribute for your employees. Having a retirement plan for them, letting them make their own contributions does have value. Not as much value as if you're able to contribute for them. But so just kind of keeping that in mind there. There are a lot of different options. We're going to do retirement. what plans are we going to do? How are we going to do this? I'm going to share with you a link to an app that will help walk you through these scenarios, can help you determine which retirement let's say which retirement strategy would be best for you. We're going to look at 4 different scenarios. One is if it's just you or you and your spouse, you're under 40. What if it's just you and your spouse, and you're over 40? What if you're an employer and you want to be able to set up these retirement plans through the business and change the amount that you contribute to your employee every year? We can look at that scenario. Or what if you're an employer and you want a set amount every single year? So in scenario A, if you're under 40, remember we talked about post-tax being really, really attractive? IRAs. You basically will be able to find all this information on the IRS website, but we're going to be recommending that you also connect perhaps with either your local credit union who can help you with retirement plans, Fidelity, Vanguard, Charles Schwab. All right, they can help you with all of this. So keep in mind, if you are under the age of 40, these post-tax plans work really, really well. If you're over the age of 40, you could consider one of the pre-tax plans. We're talking about a SEP IRA here. SEP IRAs are extremely easy, basically no cost to low cost to set up. We know we have that tax credit if we need it there. And there are certain percentages. Remember, we talked about maximums, right? So you can only contribute up to a certain amount. SEP IRAs are often the most popular for sole proprietors. So if you are a family child care and you set up a SEP IRA through the business, costs the business almost nothing, or really does cost the business nothing to set up. The contributions that go to your future, that grow for your retirement, are tax deductions for the business. All right. So in this situation, we're saying, hey, there are different types of plans that will work really, really, really well. That SEP IRA is great also for the folks under 40. So we talked about that mix, right? And what we will say is that younger individuals may also want to do things like a solo 401k. All right. So basically, there are some fees, not crazy. Higher contributions usually are allowed through solo 401ks. So those 3 are the Roth IRA, great option for under 40. The SEP IRA and the solo 401k are great options for people over 40. So you'll see that we're going to see the same plans here, right? SEP IRA, it's pre-tax. We're not taxed this year. Low cost, nice amount of contributions that you can make for a maximum. Fantastic. Solo 401ks, again, great for our individuals who are over the age of 40 and are opening a retirement plan. So solo 401ks, largest contribution. So we want to think about things like that. Roth IRAs, we talked about the mix, right? So it's not that somebody over the age of 40 should not engage and open a Roth IRA. It's just there are greater advantages under the age of 40. However, we like the mix, right? We want to have the post-tax and the pre-tax there. If you have employees, you also can open SEP IRAs. SEP IRAs, you do not have to contribute the same amount of money every year to an employee's retirement. You can change the contribution. One year you could do 8%, the next year you could do 3%. So SEP IRAs for businesses with W-2 employees are often attractive when you're starting to get the idea of how much the business can contribute, but perhaps there are some fluctuations in income. You are able to adjust the amount that the business contributes. So keep that in mind there. And if you want to set a employee contribution every year, same amount, we don't move it. There are what are called simple IRAs. And if you go, we'll share the app with you. If you go to the app, you'll be able to see how those are structured. 401k plans, those are the most expensive plans to set up, just keeping in mind. However, we've got the tax credit, right? So we can lower. In this situation, 401ks are higher contributions, both for the employer can put towards the employee, as well as the employee's own contributions, but they are a little more complicated to manage than, let's say, a SEP IRA or a solo 401k. So a standard 401k, while the most common, what most of us know about, are a little more expensive, a little more complicated to set up there. Those, what we talked about, the Roth IRA, the SEP IRA, solo 401k, 401k, simple, we talk about a simple IRA. Those aren't the only options, all right? There are things, there are traditional IRAs. You may have heard of Roth, mega Roth backdoor conversions, profit sharing, benefit plans. There are other options, and these are things that you can all, some businesses may offer them. You can speak to your retirement planning experts about what these look like. We're not going to really go into them. The plans that we discussed are the most popular and often the easiest for you and a business to engage in. So, how are we going to get started? I did mention, right, Fidelity, Vanguard, Charles Schwab, local banks, credit unions. Ask people that you know who they are working with for their retirement planning. Please, by all means, see if you can get some recommendations. Also, do your own research. Look at reviews. In terms of determined cost, remember there are plans that are no to low cost. There are plans that are more expensive. A retirement professional can help you determine what you can comfortably contribute. All right, so keeping that in mind there. And you can meet somebody in person. You can sign up online. A lot of people use Fidelity, Charles Schwab, Vanguard. Set that all up online. It's made very, very easy. And they have people who can speak to you live. Often retirement planners do not charge. Organizations that help with the retirement investing do not charge you per the hour or anything of that nature. They are helping you set up. They are reliable. We're going to do some research, right? We're going to get some ideas as to what would work. Oh, I ran over. I apologize there. So just so everybody can see here, this is the app that will walk you through all of the different retirement plans. I'll come back